Morning, third grade, and happy Wednesday. This is the third lesson this week, and it's actually going to be our last lesson. Tomorrow, I'm going to be doing a short video for a quiz review, but today is our last lesson involving perimeter and area. Okay, so let's do a quick review. When we're talking about perimeter, we are talking about the outside of a shape. Perimeter is a long word, outside's a long word. Okay, that's how I remember it. So if I give a shape, all I have to do is add the outside because I need to figure out how much I would need here and here and here and here, right? Doesn't matter. It could be a regular shape, a nice rectangle, a pretty square, but it also could be a weird shape, right? It could be all the outsides no matter what. Okay, so that's perimeter. Perimeter is used when we want to do the outside corners for our baseboards in our bedrooms. We can use perimeter to find a fence for the outside of our houses or for a dog run. We can use perimeter for bulletin boards. We want to just know the outside so I can see how much frame I need to put up. That's what perimeter is used for. We talked 2 lessons about that. Area, we're actually going to have 3 lessons because area is a little bit more complicated. Area is the inside of a square. How much space, I'm not a square, the inside of a shape. It could be a square. But what I meant to say is that area is the inside of a shape. Okay? We find area by using unit squares. Unit squares can be different. It could just be a square that doesn't have a unit attached to it. But our units can be centimeters, inches, feet, yards, miles, acres. All of those length words that we use to measure things can be used to measure area. Because if we have a square, whether it's a centimeter square, an inch square, a foot square, a yard square is 3 times that much, we can make a square using those, okay? So if we have our unit, we just need to, remember yesterday, we just need to measure how many squares can fit. Well, when we were using rectangles and squares, I hope that yesterday you were viewing a pattern of how when we were talking about multiplication and we were making beautiful arrays, which are rows and columns, that is what area is. An area model or an array is when we are lining up squares into rows and columns. So our essential question today is why can you use multiplication to find the area of a rectangle? Okay, so I want to be very specific with you. Area of a rectangle and square, we can use multiplication because we are making pretty arrays. So let's talk more about that. So here we go. Our friend Christina has a garden that is shaped like a rectangle. Yay! Each unit square represents 1 square meter. Okay, so that means that each of these squares is 1 square meter tall, or the length, and 1 square meter wide, also known as the width. Okay, do we see the squares that we're talking about? They want to know what the area of the garden is. So our method in the past has just been to count the squares. Okay, we could do that, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. A lot of squares. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. Okay. So there's 35 squares. So what happens if you accidentally make a mistake, right? What happens if you miss a square or you count a square extra? Then you're not being accurate. So the garden is in a shape of a rectangle. It already told us that. So there are 35 unit squares because we counted 35. But is there a better way? Yes. The area is 35 square meters, but what I want you to notice is that how many rows there are and how many columns, rows, row your boat, remember? And columns, up and down. Yes, columns. So if we remember what we learned about multiplication, guess what? We can use repeated addition because that's how you multiply. So let's count our rows. How many are in this top row right here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 unit squares. So if there's 7 in that row, how many are in the next row? If there's 7 on the top row, how many would be in the next row? 7, because it's a rectangle. and 7 again, and 7 again, and 7 again. I have how many rows of 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because this is how many rows I have. 5. This is how many are in each row, which is 7. So if I add 7 5 times, 7, 14, 21, 28, 35. If you're not good at skip counting by sevens, just practice. But yes, we also get the answer of 35. Well, guess what, friends? We already learned that we can do 5 times 7 as 5 groups of 7, but guess what? What can you also do? You can take these two numbers, 5 times 7, and you can flip them, right? So maybe you don't want to count by sevens. Maybe you don't want 5 sevens. Maybe you can do 7 fives. Can you count by 5 7 times? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. A little bit faster than counting by sevens, right? No matter what, the area is still 35 square meters, because you can either do repeated addition by adding what's in the rows, or we could have done what is in the columns. So now we're going to be talking about multiplication and what that looks like, okay? We can count the squares, we can use repeated addition, or we can finally do that multiplication that we worked so hard in 3rd grade to learn, right? So there are 5 rows. I hope we know. Row, row, row your boat. We go side to side, okay? There are 5 rows. That is that vertical number, 5. So now, remember with a multiplication chart, it goes up and then over. What is the top number? How many are in each row? 7. We already did that, duh. So if I have 5 rows of 7, I can find the number of squares by taking how many rows times how many columns, and it makes a pretty array. Ready? I can multiply those now. So I want you to know that when you're doing area in 3rd grade, they're going to most likely give you these nice boxes that you can count. But I'm warning you for in the future, if you have a rectangle, you are going to need to learn this multiplication method, okay? I want you to know that a rectangle is an array. It's just like a problem that we learned in 3rd grade. We can multiply 7 times 5 or 5 times 7, and it gets us to 35. So there are 3 ways that we can measure area today. We can count, we can use repeated addition if you're not super strong at multiplication, or we can multiply knowing our multiplication facts. Okay? The area is still 35 meters, no matter which way that you do it. Okay? But I hope that today you try the multiplication model. All right, you've had 3 days, you've had 2 other assignments where you could have counted, but today I want you to think smarter, okay? I want you to not work so hard and count every single box on your computer screen. I want you to multiply today, okay? Let's do one more example. Find the area of the figure. Each unit square is 1 square foot. So what do I see? Do you see a rectangle? Yes, that means that I can use an array. An array is how many rows and how many are in each row. So how many rows are there? How many rows go side to side? 1, 2, 3, 4. How many columns are there? How many up and down vertical columns do we have? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is 4 rows of 6. What multiplication sentence is that? 4 times 6. Well, if you don't know 4 times 6, I know that if I multiply by 4s, I can double the doubles. What's the double of 6? 12. What's double of 12? 24. So I can count to double check, but my answer should be 24 because I did 4 times 6. Ready? 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. Got it? There are 4 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4. I went ahead of myself. I'm very sorry, class. There are 6 in each row. Check. So now it's going to come up with my multiplication. I can do, now it's going to show me some different options. So if I do 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6, will I get the answer? Do you remember what the answer was? How about 4 plus 6? Is that the right answer? How about 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4? Is that enough fours? No. So the right answer was 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6, because I can see it. 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6. That answer is 24. I can also do multiplication. Is this a 3 times 6 square? Rectangle, I should say. Is this a 4 times 6? Is this a 6 times 6? Is this 4 times 5? Which one? Which one do you think? Yes, it is 4 times 6. 4 rows of 6. 4 rows of 6 still gets the same answer as 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6, or 4 sixes. 4, 6 fours. 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. The answer is still 24. We can get it many different ways, class, and they're going to ask you some of the different ways. So remember, if you can see it, if you can see adding 4 and a 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 4, good, use it. If you can see 4 sixes, 6, 6, 6, 6, use it. And if you see multiplication, use it, okay? So the area of the figure is still 24, like we had explained. Okay? So that's it for today. It's the same thing we've learned for the past 3 days for you finding the inside area using unit squares. You have a short 11.6 area practice in your Go Math. So I want you to go and do your assignment. Make sure you log on to ST Math as well and get your iReady minutes done. If you have any questions at all, just feel free to dojo me, email me, type a comment on class, Google Classroom, whatever you need to get in contact with me. All right, guys, have a great Wednesday. Bye.